I've been a cop in Charlotte, North Carolina for going on 11 years now. And in all that time, I've learned one thing. It's not the loud, violent calls that haunt you. It's the quiet ones. The ones that come in on still nights when the streets are dead quiet and the city breathes slow. It was one of those nights. Middle of October. The air was crisp, sky moonless. I was parked off Freedom Drive, sipping stale coffee and scrolling through my incident reports when the call came in. Unit 12, we've got a noise complaint near the old substation off Mount Holly Road. Caller says they heard a baby crying in the woods. I just sat there for a second. A baby? Out there? There's nothing but trees and an old, rusted-out transformer station that hasn't been in use since the late 90s. No homes, no roads. No reason for a baby to be anywhere near it. Still, I hit my lights and headed that way. Didn't feel right ignoring it. When I pulled up to the old access trail, my headlights lit up a wall of thick pine and briars. The substation was just past it, maybe half a mile in. You could see the chain link fence from the right angle, all caved in and tangled with kudzu. I killed the engine and stepped out, and almost immediately, I heard it. That sound, soft, muffled, but there. A baby, crying. It was coming from deep in the woods behind the substation. Now I've heard animals mimic things before, foxes scream, owls yowl, but this was different. It was too rhythmic, like it was on a loop. A baby's cry with no breath behind it, just wah, 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 over and over again. I drew my flashlight, unclipped my holster, just in case, and started walking. The deeper I got, the quieter everything became. No wind, no insects. Even the leaves beneath my boots seemed muted somehow, and then I saw them. A herd. Maybe a dozen deer. But they weren't acting right. They were standing perfectly still, not grazing, not twitching, just watching. Their coats were bone white like albinos, eyes glowing a soft red in the beam of my light. But it wasn't just their color, it was their shape. Their legs were too long, necks too thin, and they were bent, wrong, like someone had tried to draw a deer from memory and got all the angles just a little off. I froze. Then, from the center of the herd, one of them stepped forward. Antlerless, its mouth opened, and from it, the cry of a baby. But this time, it wasn't rhythmic. It wasn't a loop. It felt real, like it knew I was there. I backed away slowly, every hair on my neck standing up. The deer didn't move, they just watched. And I swear, one of them smiled. I got back to my cruiser and slammed the door shut, started the engine, turned on the radio. Static, nothing but static, until I was almost a mile down the road. The next morning, I came back with animal control and a wildlife officer. But the woods, empty. No deer, no prints, not even disturbed brush, except for one thing. Lying in the grass near the substation fence was a tiny white object, a tooth, not an animal's, a human baby's tooth. I took it, put it in a bag, turned it in with the report, but it vanished from evidence a few days later. Just gone. Since that night, things have gotten stranger. I live 2 counties over, in a newer development. Nowhere near Mount Holly Road, nowhere near the woods, but I keep seeing things, at night. Figures in the tree line behind my house. White shapes, watching. Sometimes I hear crying, coming from the woods, even when my windows are shut and locked. And a few nights ago, I looked out my back window and saw one. A deer, standing still, staring up at me. Its mouth was closed, but the sound I heard coming from it wasn't a baby's cry anymore. It was a voice. My voice, calling from its throat. It was repeating the last thing I said that night in the woods, over and over. Anyone out here? Show yourself. Now it says it every night, and last night I swear it was standing closer. I don't think it's just mimicking anymore. I think it's learning, becoming something else, and whatever it is, it followed me home. When I was 16, I took a part-time job at a small gas station on the outskirts of a quiet town called Hollow Creek. The station was modest, with just 4 fuel pumps and a tiny convenience store that offered the bare essentials. Most days were uneventful, with only a handful of customers stopping by. I used the downtime to catch up on schoolwork, sitting behind the counter with my textbooks spread out. The station had a single restroom, a couple of refrigerated drink cases, and shelves stocked with snacks that rarely sold. Behind the building was a large dumpster where we disposed of trash, but to reach it, One had to exit the front door and walk around the side. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the empty road, a black sedan pulled into the station. A man and woman, both appearing to be in their late 20s, stepped out. The woman began pumping gas while the man retrieved a backpack from the back seat. I watched them briefly before returning to my homework, assuming they didn't need assistance. After a few minutes, the couple got back into their car and drove off. I noticed the man no longer had the backpack, but I assumed he had placed it back in the car and didn't think much of it. Later that night, as my shift was ending, I decided to take out the trash. Grabbing the garbage bag, I walked around the building toward the dumpster. As I approached, a foul odor hit me, stronger than the usual stench of garbage. I lifted the dumpster lid and tossed the bag in, but something caught my eye. A backpack, partially unzipped, resting atop the other trash. Curiosity got the better of me. I reached in and pulled the backpack closer. It was damp, and a dark liquid had seeped through the fabric. With trembling hands, I opened it further. Inside was a mass of flesh, unidentifiable and grotesque, with patches of skin and what appeared to be bone fragments. The smell was overpowering, and I stumbled back, vomiting onto the pavement. Shaken, I ran back to the store and called 911. The dispatcher kept me on the line until the police arrived. They cordoned off the area and began their investigation. I provided my statement describing the couple and the events of the evening. Days turned into weeks, and the authorities kept me updated. The remains in the backpack were confirmed to be human, but due to the state of decomposition, identification was challenging. Surveillance footage from the gas station had been tampered with, and the license plate of the black sedan was unreadable. The case eventually went cold. The experience haunted me. I often replayed that night in my mind, wondering if there was something I missed, some detail that could have helped identify the perpetrators. The image of the backpack and its contents remained etched in my memory. Years later, I received an anonymous letter in the mail. Inside was a single photograph, a close-up of the gas station's dumpster with a shadowy figure standing beside it. On the back, a message was scrawled, "Some secrets are best left buried." To this day, I don't know who sent the letter or what it meant, but it served as a chilling reminder that the horrors of that night were far from over. I don't know how to explain this without sounding guilty or insane, or both. But I need to say it, get it out. Maybe then someone can tell me I'm just grieving, that all of this is in my head. My sister Alina died 4 months ago. The official cause was suicide. She jumped from the old railway bridge that cuts through the forest just outside our hometown. No note, no hesitation. A hiker saw her standing on the edge and then gone. She was 22. Alina was quiet, private, one of those people who are brilliant in ways that make teachers obsessed and classmates feel slightly uneasy. But she was never sad, at least not outwardly. And I should know, we shared a house, shared late night talks, shared everything, except secrets. Or so I thought. 3 days ago, I finally worked up the courage to clean out her room. It still smelled like her. Lavender and the faintest trace of old paper. I opened every drawer, every closet. Her journals were all stacked neatly on a shelf, but one wasn't. It was hidden. A plain leather-bound book, tucked inside an old backpack under her bed, wrapped in a black hoodie, like she didn't want it found. At first, it was normal. Musings, sketches, strange little poems. But then, it shifted. The writing got darker. She started describing things like the silence in the mirror and the man with no teeth who smiles when I sleep. I figured it was metaphor, just some creative way of processing stress. But then she started writing about me. He was in my room again last night. He always forgets he talks in his sleep. Sometimes I think he doesn't know what he's doing. Sometimes I think he does. I don't sleepwalk. I don't have blackouts. I've never heard voices. But she kept writing, and it kept getting worse. He asked me where I'd hide a body if I had to. He laughed, but he wasn't joking. I found dirt under my nails this morning. I don't remember digging. He keeps saying we're not twins. We are. I think he's trying to convince me I'm not real. We're not twins. I'm 2 years older. But that last entry, that one stopped my heart cold. It said, He says I jumped, but I haven't yet. Maybe I should before he makes it worse. It's dated 3 days before her death. I stared at that page for a long time. The words, the handwriting, they weren't hers, they were mine. I checked, compared it to my own journals, class notes, birthday cards. I'd swear under oath I wrote that page, but I didn't, unless I don't remember. The police ruled it a suicide, no sign of foul play. They barely even searched her room. They said the case was clean. Her final texts to me were simple. I'm sorry, it's quiet now. They said grief messes with memory. And maybe that's true, but I checked the message history. There was a deleted text, just one, sent at 3:08 a.m. You told me to write it down. I did. Please don't make me jump. I never saw that message. I don't know how it got deleted, but it was there. And since I read that journal, things have been happening. I've started dreaming about the bridge every night. In the dreams, I'm standing where she did, the forest all around, the wind cold and wet against my skin. I look down and see her face, not broken or bleeding, just staring. Last night, I woke up with dirt under my fingernails. It won't wash off. I keep hearing things when I try to sleep. Whispers. Not her voice. Mine. Last night, I stood in front of the mirror for 10 minutes. I couldn't move. Couldn't blink. I watched my reflection tilt its head just slightly before I did, like it was waiting. Sometimes I wonder if Alina ever really jumped, or if something pushed her. Not something, someone. Me. But that doesn't make sense, right? Unless it does, unless I'm not the only one living in my skin. I want to believe I'm innocent, but the voice I hear whispering at night, it isn't Alina. It sounds like me. And last night, it said she's not the only one who needs to jump.